Okay, so Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah wahdah, wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'dahu amma ba'd. If you want me to see you, then you'll have to be on this side. It's just I have to see it myself. So jazakallah khairan. So you need one eye there and one eye on me, inshallah. So this is a presentation with regards to the masail, rulings, laws, with regards to Udhiyah, also known as Qurbani, an animal sacrifice that we do at the time of Eid al-Adha. The contents of coverage for today will go through the meaning of the word Qurbani. That is it just an Urdu word that has no background to Arabic or etc. Meaning of the word Udhiyah, an introduction, more detail on Udhiyah itself, the history of Udhiyah, virtues, who is required to perform the Udhiyah, the time of Udhiyah, and conditions for the slaughtered animal. So I won't be using Qurbani a lot in this presentation. If anything, I'll be using Udhiyah. So Udhiyah and Qurbani are the same thing. We'll also be covering rulings on defects in the Udhiyah animal that deem it unfit for Udhiyah. Then dhabh, slaughter of the Udhiyah animal, the correct way, mustahab way. The meat and the skin of the Udhiyah animal, what do you do with it? Distribution rules, and 15 common FAQs we'll be going through, inshallah. Hopefully that'll answer all of your FAQs. So meaning of the word Qurbani. So Qurbani is an Urdu Persian word, and it's derived from the Arabic word Qurban. So there's a word in Arabic called Qurban. That's where Qurbani comes from. So Qurban, it's derived from the root word of Arabic Qurb, meaning nearness and closeness. So in Urdu we'll say, Allah ka qurb hasil karo. So acquire the nearness of the Creator. But Qurb is an Arabic word. So Qurbani is from that. So what does it mean then? Technically, the word Qurban, it is used for the sacrifice of an animal slaughtered for the sake of Allah. So that's what we use it for. That's what the word we in society, amongst Norman culture, we use. We take this Qurb, general word, and we use it specific for the animal of sacrifice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this word Qurban as its Qurban in the ayah of the Quran. فَلَوْلَا نَصَرَهُمُ الَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ قُرْبَانًا آلِهَةً. So, why were they not helped by those whom they had taken as gods instead of Allah to achieve closeness to Allah? So they thought that if we worship the other gods as well, we'll come even closer to Allah. So the word close and closer, the word Qurban has been used there in that meaning, that Qurb means to come near, to close. That's why I say Qurbani, that through this sacrifice we intend to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So where does Udhiyah, so what is this Udhiyah? The Udhiyah is to sacrifice specific animals for the sake of Allah on specific days. So Qurbani is what we have stipulated as a norm for that same meaning that actually in Arabic Udhiyah is there already for. So we're going to go through some basic things here, inshallah, about Dhul Hijjah, Udhiyah and its virtues. So Dhul Hijjah is the last month of the Islamic calendar, the 12th month. The literal meaning of Dhul Hijjah is the month of Hajj. The 5th pillar of Islam, Hajj, is performed in this sacred month. The 10th day of this blessed month is known as Eid al-Adha, the festival of sacrifice. Eid, festival, Adha, sacrifice. That's where Udhiyah comes from. Are you with me? Okay. This 10th day, this Eid day, is also called Yawmun Nahr, the day of camel sacrifice. Yeah, so it's commonly sacrificed for the sake of Allah on the day of Eid, so it's called Yawmun Nahr, and great virtues of it have come in the hadith. Muslims all over rejoice and sacrifice animals for the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala with the intention of gaining His nearness. Because Qurbani comes from nearness, so we only sacrifice every year to gain the nearness of our Creator. Because this amal is so sacred, because it commemorates the incomparable and unique obedience of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who ordered him to sacrifice his only son and the apple of his eye, and the piece of his heart, a flesh of his own self. So the way how he openly and selflessly sacrificed for the sake of Allah, every year when we do this Qurbani, then we also aim to gain this nearness to our Creator. That's the whole purpose. So it's not a ritual without meaning, nor is it just about, oh, how much does it cost this year? Oh, £10 more? Inflation? Oh, last year this charity was doing it cheap, now they're making money. I see what's happening over here. So it's not just about, oh, how much am I spending? That's not what it's about. It's about how much are you giving for the sake of Allah, which is actually supposed to serve as a symbol of sacrifice and ready to sacrifice anything for Allah. And today it's an animal, tomorrow it will be my nafs. Tomorrow it will be my base desires. Tomorrow it will be everything which Allah doesn't want me to do. This is a symbol of that sacrifice, of that commitment to Allah. So it's a much more holistic and spiritual meaning when you actually do this udhiyah. It's very, very blessed. My dear respected Shaykh Maulana Muhammad Salim Dorat Hafidhahullah Ta'ala was last Friday in his gathering was just mentioning that I preserve the meat of udhiyah on a yearly basis in the freezer, and I use a little bit of it until the next Eid al-Adha. So I can benefit from the blessedness of that meat and the spirituality that it brings. And it's a reminder for me for what I have sacrificed this for, the symbolization. So it serves me as a reminder for the entire year. So it's a great practice. It's a great practice, and we will be coming to one of the common FAQs, but as we are talking about it, there's no harm in mentioning it, is that along with the sacrifices that we send throughout the world for our families who have a right upon us, and for the needy throughout the world, we mustn't forget that we should sacrifice in this country as well to revive the spirit of sacrifice and giving unconditionally to Allah amongst ourselves and our children. And when we preserve this meat in this spirit throughout the whole year, then it serves as a reminder throughout the whole year. Every time you take this meat out, there's obviously an unexplainable flavor to it as well. Everybody who tastes the meat of udhiyah, they say, you know what, it's from the same shop, placed at all the same place, but I just don't know why, there's just this extra flavor to it. There's some special and particularity to this that I don't experience. So imagine a person is able to experience this throughout the whole year. So if you're sacrificing an entire sheep and a goat, and you must be very careful when you go to give your orders to the locals over here, because so just tell me, because I wanted this to be interactive. The interactive part's supposed to come later, but just tell me, if I was to go to the shop and say, I would like 1 lamb for Qurbani this year, then have I asked the correct thing, yes or no? So for myself only, I would like 1 lamb Qurbani on my name for this year. Have I asked the correct thing, yes or no? Raise your hands if you think it's correct. Okay? 1, 2, follow the train, 3, 4, 5, anyone else? 5, okay. Raise your hands if it's incorrect. Okay, still only about 5, 6, 7, and there's majority, half, 50% haven't raised their hands at all. It's good, you can't catch me out now. I haven't raised my hand for any. Okay, so what happens is maybe some of you prefer lamb meat. So throughout the year you only eat lamb, you don't eat sheep. So when you go and you ask for lamb meat, you have actually asked for the incorrect thing. Because in order for a sacrifice to be legit, valid, it has to be this lamb, which is the baby version of a sheep. it has to be at least 1 year old. When it becomes 1 year old, you don't normally call it a lamb anymore. When it's 6 months or around the 6 months or under, etc., you call it a lamb. You don't call it a lamb when it's 1 year. Then there's another name for it. Hog it. There you go. Hog it or hog, whichever one you want to call it. These are those sheep which have reached another stage of age in their life, which is now anywhere from 12 to 24 months. Some say 18 to 24 months, but it's past the year mark. So now if you want something which is not so matured as a sheep, so you want it still tender meat, but it will definitely be more intense in taste than a lamb, but it will be a hogget that you're asking for. So it won't be as intense as a sheep, and it won't be as tender as a lamb, or light in flavor as a lamb. So that's what you're asking for. So it's incorrect to walk into a shop to give an order and say, I want 1 lamb Qurbani for myself this year. Oh, you don't ask for lamb. But guess what the shopkeepers do, majority of them? Yes, brother, no problem. And they write you off and your name and take your deposit. You don't know what you asked for. Allah knows best what He's going to slaughter tomorrow or on the day of Eid. Allah knows best what's happening. Sometimes they know exactly what you're asking for. But they say, oh, whether they say lamb, sheep or goat, we know we're going to slaughter the sheep anyway. So we know what we're doing. And sometimes they really don't know what they're doing. So we're going to carry on. So just make sure, before we carry on, just make sure you are ordering the correct thing. So you're asking for a hog or a sheep. That's what you're asking for. And you're not asking for a lamb. Samajh gaya Haji sahib? Okay, just when this wants to give up. Sorry about that. I didn't do that. Okay, so we're just going to carry on, inshallah, as the screen loads up. So, Udhiyah, this is an important ibadah and worship, and it's from the sha'air of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the glorious Quran, ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. That whomsoever venerates and raises the symbols of Islam, then this is from the piety of his heart. So we normally say that you have to have self-respect. So you have to have respect for your religion. So what's respect for your religion? It is what your religion upholds. You should uphold that as well, and you should take it seriously. So just because a non-Muslim doesn't understand what salah is, then you can't say, oh salah, yeah, it's not really important. We can pray if you want to. So you don't lower it, but you continue to raise it. You continue to raise it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the glorious Quran, لَن يَنَالَ اللَّهَ لُحُومُهَا وَلَا دِمَاؤُهَا وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. When you slaughter these animals, then it's not the meat that Allah is looking for, how weighty is your animal. Yes, there's another thing in this slaughtering. So when you go to back in our countries, that what we tend to do over there is we buy the animal 2-3 months in advance, sometimes 6 months in advance, and then you buy it foods that you as humans eat, like pistachios and cashew nuts and nice stuff and heavy stuff and good stuff, and you intend that, I want to make this animal very meaty, and then you externally decorate it as well. You put some color on it, you decorate it, you make it wear something. You make it wear something. Okay, this was the problem initially. You make it wear something. We'll get this sorted out second round. As at least the screen's up. You make it wear something. Look at that. Confusion. Jazakumullah khairan. Make sure you didn't record this far. Okay, just record it. Okay, Jazakumullah khair. Right, so you do that. So this, buying the animal early and feeding it and decorating it and making it very meaningful, playing with it in a day, taking care of it, treating it like a bride throughout the 3 months, 6 months. This makes it very special and personal to you. So when the day comes of sacrifice, you try to recreate that feeling of attachment and thereafter loss. And guess what happens back home? Everyone cries. Everyone cries. When that animal is to be sacrificed, everyone cries. So how do you even come close to that feeling in this country? Yeah. So it's very difficult, but at least you can sacrifice an animal in this country. That's why I'm saying this is the least you can do. So if you've got 3 Qurbanis, 3 Udhiyahs that are going from your home, do 1 in this country and 2 abroad where there is need. So Udhiyah, we were saying, is an important sha'air of Islam. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that it is not their flesh that reaches Allah, nor it is their blood, but it is your piety, your intention that reaches Him. Thus, the actual purpose of Udhiyah is to create piety, devotion and desire for obedience and submission in a human. Now a ruling is, Udhiyah cannot be offered in the name of anyone besides Allah Ta'ala. Again, reinforcing the purpose of Udhiyah and the Qurbani, it is only for Allah. So, the famous saying of Ibrahim alayhi salam, قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. That indeed, my salah, my sacrifice, my living and my dying are for Allah, only for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. So note my sacrifice. And that sacrifice can refer to the sacrifice of the animal. Now the history of Udhiyah. Although Udhiyah had been ordained an ibadah from the time of Sayyiduna Adam alayhi salam, special importance was attached to it only after an incident which took place with Sayyiduna Ibrahim alayhi salam, and consequently it was made wajib incumbent in the time of our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam in memory and commemoration of Sayyiduna Ibrahim alayhi salam. This is a unique incident in world history and of great spiritual value, which the Quran mentions in Surah As-Saffat. And the English of the Arabic of the verse is that thereafter, when his son Ismail alayhi salam, when Ibrahim alayhi salam's son Ismail alayhi salam reached an age in which he was able to work with him, so he grew up well and he saw all his lovely years, his cute years, he said to his son, "Oh my dear son, I have seen in a dream that I am slaughtering you. So consider what is your view? What's your opinion? What's your mashwara? What do we do?" So he saw it 3 nights consecutively, and he knew this is now the wahy of Allah. So what do we do? The dreams of the prophets are regarded as revelations. Thus, the observance of slaughtering in a dream is just like receiving the command to slaughter for a prophet. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam therefore asked, "Are you ready to fulfill this command of Allah?" The son replied, "O my father, do that which you are commanded. If Allah wills, you will find me to be among those who are patient." This was a great trial for Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. He's commanded to slaughter his only child, a child who was blessed to him by Allah Ta'ala in his old age after making numerous supplications. And the supplications were not based on, "Oh, if I get a son, he can work for me and fill my pockets up, build me a house and I can live in it and he can work and I can relax." No, I want a son to continue the legacy of Tawheed. So Allah give me a son. So Allah gives him a son. Now you're taking it away from me, Allah. Who's going to continue my legacy? Who's going to raise your name? And now reaching the stage where he could assist his old father in his duties and mission of Islam, Allah is now asking him. Similarly, it was a great trial for the son too. To obey the command and give away his life was not a trivial or simple thing. However, the son too showed the qualities of his father by submitting and not relying on his own intentions, determination and Further, he did not say, I will have patience, but said, you will find me to be among those who are patient, which is a sign of humility that indicates that he does not claim the quality of patience for himself as well. So not only is he in this moment, the choice of words is really reflecting his heart and mindset. First of all, he's not saying, I'm all pious here, go for it, Father, do what you have to do. You know I'm patient. No, subhanallah. Even at that time, he's saying, if Allah wills. So he's ready, but if Allah wills, inshallah, you'll find me. And then you'll find me patient? No, from among those that are patient. So I'm not claiming patience for myself, I'm brave. No, inshallah, from amongst all those that are brave, inshallah, I will be one from amongst them as well. So again, sharing that great attribute, what would his age be? Look at the tarbiyah and ta'aleem that Ibrahim alayhi salam has given to his son. Amazing that this level of understanding to have at that young age. Through the blessings of entrusting themselves to Allah Ta'ala and their humility, they did not falter during the stages of this difficult path. The sole breadwinning father and his obedient son left home for Mina to carry out the command of Allah Ta'ala. When they finally reached Mina, the father turned the face of his son and placed the knife on his throat and used his full strength to fulfill the order and decree of sacrifice. But the power of Allah Ta'ala intervened in the function of the knife, and a call from the heavens turned the events of this whole scene. Then, when they had both surrendered to Allah and he had flung him down on his face, we called unto him, O Ibrahim, you have already fulfilled the vision. Indeed, do we reward the good. Indeed, this was a clear test, and we ransomed him with a tremendous sacrifice. And with it a ram was sent down from the heavens as a ransom for Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam, so that it may be slaughtered in his place. Allah Ta'ala accepted this sincere act and deed of his messenger Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, so much so that to keep this act alive as a rite of remembrance until the day of judgment, he made it wajib and incumbent upon the pilgrims in particular and upon the Muslims in general to sacrifice an animal throughout the entire world. The virtues of Udhiyah, dear respected brothers, are many, and this again is only to encourage us to sacrifice for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hadith in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim states that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sacrificed 2 white rams speckled with black. He slaughtered them with his own hand, said Allahu Akbar, and put his foot on their necks to hold them down so they don't move. And another hadith states that the Prophet ﷺ stayed in Medina for 10 years, offering this sacrifice every year on the day of Eid. In another hadith in Tirmidhi, it mentions that ما عمل ابن آدم يوم النحر أحب إلى الله من إهراق الدم. That the son of Adam on the day of Nahr cannot do and fulfill a sacrifice that is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than spilling the blood of the animal. وَإِنَّهُ لَيُؤْتَى يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ بِقُرُونِهَا وَأَشْعَارِهَا وَأَظْلَافِهَا. And on the day this sacrifice shall be brought forth with its horns, with its hair, with its nails. وَإِنَّ الدَّمَ لَيَقَعُ مِنَ اللَّهِ بِمَكَانٍ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَقَعَ بِالْأَرْضِ فَطِيبُوا بِهَا نَفْسًا. And indeed, the blood, it drops before Allah in a certain place before it even drops onto the earth. So it drops into Allah in a specific way, a special way. So it reaches Allah before it even drops and touches the floor. So therefore, فَطِيبُوا بِهَا نَفْسًا. Therefore sacrifice open-heartedly with smile and with joy. Because Allah is accepting your sacrifices. In one hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was asked by the Sahaba, Ya Rasulullah, ma hadhihi al-adahi? O Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, what are these sacrifices? He said, Sunnatu abikum Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. This is the sunnah of your forefather Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. Then the Sahaba said, فَمَا لَنَا فِيهَا يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. What is it in it for us, O Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, بِكُلِّ شَعْرَةٍ حَسَنًا. For every hair there will be a good deed. They said, فَالصُّوفُ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. What about the wool? So hair, this sheep has wool. If we're sacrificing the wool, the sheep, and not the cow or the buffalo, then what about the wool? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, بِكُلِّ شَعْرَةٍ مِّنَ الصُّوفِ حَسَنًا. Even every hair from the wool, you will be rewarded a good deed for it as well. May Allah make us worthy of these good deeds and give us the tawfiq to sacrifice for His sake as well. Who is required to do udhiyah? So now we're coming more closer to the technical part now. Every adult Muslim, male or female, who owns 612.36 grams of silver or its equivalent in money, personal ornaments, stock in trade, or any other form of wealth, important clause, which is in excess of one's basic personal need. Number 4, they are residents, so they're not a traveler who intends to travel 48 miles or more. So, if a person has gone for Hajj and they are not residing in a place for 15 days or more, then they are considered a traveler. So they have to do and give dam shuk, the sacrifice of Hajj and the ihram over there. They don't need to do this yearly sacrifice that they do here. But if their stay in Makkah or Medina is 15 days or more, then they are muqim. And if they're muqim, not only do they do the Hajj sacrifice, they have to do this yearly one as well. The time of Udhiyah, when do you do the sacrifice? So Udhiyah is only valid during the 3 days of Dhul Hijjah, namely the 10th, 11th and 12th, and cannot be performed in any other day of the year. Although Udhiyah is permissible on each of the above 3 days, the first day is the most preferable and desired day. Generally, Udhiyah is not allowed before Eid Salah. If Udhiyah is being done at a place where Eid Salah is not performed, like a village for example, so normally the ruling among the fuqaha is that there should be a jami' masjid, a main masjid where Jumu'ah takes place, where Eid Salah, big open ground, where Eid Salah takes place. So normally you don't have it in the villages, you have it in the bigger places that are larger than villages, maybe cities, etc. So, or in very open ground, so you come out of the village. So if there's no Eid Salah being performed where you are, then there is this leeway that if Udhiyah is being done at a place where Eid Salah is not performed, the slaughter should commence after the completion of Eid Salah in the nearby town or city. So if the nearby town or city are doing Eid Salah at 8 a.m., then you should then estimate that they would be finishing by 8:30, and then you should do your sacrifices from 8:30 onwards. However, according to the Hanafi school, in small villages where Eid prayer is not to be performed, Udhiyah can be offered any time after the break of dawn on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, which is the time of Fajr. Any time after that. Udhiyah can be performed during the night time as well. However, it is preferable to perform it during the daytime. Conditions for the slaughtered animal. Now the slaughtered animal has to have these 6 conditions, or one of the 6, depending on the animal you are sacrificing. The animals eligible for Udhiyah are goats, sheep, so goat, sheep, cattle and camel, male or female. No other type of animal is allowed for Udhiyah. If I can please have your eyes towards me now. Don't look away. Which animals are allowed to be sacrificed? So in that order, don't look there though. Goat, sheep, cattle, and then camel. In cattle, what do you get? Buffalo, cow, ox as well. Okay, now you can. Number 2, castrated, meanings where the testicles are removed. Those type of animals may be used for Udhiyah as well. As barren, those female animals that cannot give birth may also be used for Udhiyah as well. Goats and sheep, now this is age. How old should they be? From 4 till 6. Goats and sheep have to be at least 1 year old However, a healthy sheep that looks like a 1-year-old may also be used, provided it is at least 6 months of age. Cattle, cow, ox and buffalo must be at least 2 years old, and camels must at least be 5 years old. Alright, so what numbers do we have? Years wise, we have 1 year, 2 years and 5 years. So 1, 2 and 5. And if you work up on the size of animals, then it's easy to remember. The smallest of the batch has to be 1 year old. What's that? Goats and sheep. Next in size, you've got your cattle. They need to be 2 years. Next in size, you've got your camels. They need to be 5 years. Okay, just in case you start grazing and raising, you should remember these things. Rulings on defects in the Udhiyah animal. So if the animals have these, you can't be sacrificing them, they're not fit. An animal that was born without horns, or the horn is broken off from the middle, is eligible for Udhiyah. However, if the horn is broken off from the root, or the horn has been uprooted, then it will not be eligible for Udhiyah. An animal that is totally blind, or has lost 1/3 or more of its eyesight, or 1/3 or more of one of its ear is cut, or 1/3 or more of its tail is cut, it's not eligible for Udhiyah. Allah accepts the pure only, brothers and mothers and sisters listening. So all these rulings are telling us that what would be considered pure enough and what would not be considered pure enough. Allah says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You will not reach complete piety until you do not sacrifice that which you love, that which is valuable. So, things which have defects like this, they're not very valuable flock or herd or cattle. So, this is why all these rulings are here. An animal which limps, walks on 3 legs, and cannot put the injured 4th leg onto the ground, or it is able to put the injured leg onto the ground but is unable to walk on it, is not eligible for Udhiyah. If it was up to us, we'll put all the rubbish forward, isn't it? Put all that forward, that all gets slaughtered. We've got to slaughter anyway, keep the nice healthy ones with us so they give good milk and etc. and all that. So here we're learning these rulings, that it's not like that. You put the good things forward for Allah, because this is more than just the meat that Allah's looking at. Don't think Allah's looking for the meat and the healthy state. But this is minimum by literalism. This is minimal that you should be giving to Allah, but the greater achievement is the spirituality behind it. However, if it is unable to walk on it but can still take support from it, then it is eligible for Udhiyah even though it is limping. Animals having no teeth at all are not eligible for Udhiyah. If an animal has lost some teeth only and has most of its teeth, it is then eligible for Udhiyah. If most of the teeth are lost, it is not eligible for Udhiyah. An animal born without ears is not eligible for Udhiyah. An animal with very small ears is eligible for Udhiyah. Thin and extremely weak animals unable to walk to the place of slaughter are not eligible for Udhiyah. If an animal sustains an injury whilst being slaughtered, the Udhiyah is still considered valid. If an animal is purchased in a healthy and eligible state and thereafter an accident occurs which renders the animal unfit for Udhiyah according to all the defects we've already discussed, then in such a case, if the purchaser is no longer wealthy, it will be permissible to offer the same animal for Udhiyah. However, if the purchaser is wealthy, then it is necessary, meaning wealthy, meaning he can afford another sacrificial animal, then it is necessary to obtain another animal in place of the injured animal. If an animal purchased for Udhiyah gives birth before being slaughtered, so you've already selected it, and it's purchased for Udhiyah. So if an animal purchased for Udhiyah gives birth before being slaughtered, then the newly born animal should also be slaughtered as well, because it is seen as one and not two. That's the only reason. Dhabh, slaughter of the Udhiyah animal. It is recommended, mustahab, that the owner of the Udhiyah animal slaughters it personally, provided he's able to slaughter it properly. If the owner is unable to slaughter, he may be weak, he may be sick, may be ill, maybe it's the ruling of the country, the law of the slaughterhouse, you can't do it, then it is better to delegate the task to another Muslim who is acquainted with the requirements of a valid Islamic slaughter. If the slaughter has been delegated, it is desirable that the owner of the Udhiyah animal is present at the time of slaughter. This is minimal, if that is possible. The Islamic slaughter requires that the throat, the external jugular veins, and the windpipe of the animal is swiftly and clearly severed with a sharp tool, together with invoking the name of Allah Most High, Allahu Akbar. If only 2 of the passages and veins are cut, the slaughter will be deemed incorrect. If any 3 of the 4 are severed, then it is sufficient, the slaughter is valid. But in running the knife through the throat, you got to its spine and you snapped its spine, then the slaughter is invalid. It is mustahab to face the qibla while slaughtering the animal for the slaughterer himself. It is mustahab to sharpen the knife before slaughter to ease the suffering of the animal. What's this word mustahab mean? Preferable. After slaughter, the animal should not be skinned or cut up into pieces before it turns completely cold. It is disliked to slaughter an animal in the presence of another animal, although the slaughter is valid. But this is your animal rights. Okay. Right, okay, so we're going to inshallah continue with the presentation. The meat and the skin of the udhiyah. It is allowed for the one performing udhiyah to either eat off the meat or give it to whomsoever he pleases, rich or poor, Muslim or non-Muslim. It is preferable, however, that the meat is divided into 3 parts. 1 part for the home, family, relatives. So 1 part for the home, 1 part for the relatives and friends, and 1 part for the poor and needy. So this is a common question, that can I slaughter can I distribute the animal? Oh, we've missed out one ruling, so let's finish this ruling off first. It is preferable to read the following whilst laying the throat of the animal towards the qibla. For me, I have set my face, this is in Arabic, you can say this in Arabic as well, you can, it's not written on here though. But for me, I have set my face firmly and truly towards Him who created the heavens and the earth, and never shall I give partners to Allah. Verily my worship and my sacrifice, my living and my dying are for Allah, Lord of the worlds. O Allah, the sacrifice from you, Allah, the sacrifice is from you and is for you as well. While slaughtering the animal, read Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. If the above are not memorized, then make an intention of udhiyah and merely recite Bismillah. Even this will be sufficient as well. We're talking about the meat and the skin just a bit earlier. So if you look at the blue, orange and red, that's the 3 preferable splitting parts, but not necessary. The meat or skin of the animal cannot be sold or given to an employee or butcher in payment of his labor. It may be given as a gift though. The skin of the udhiyah animal can be kept for personal use or given to anyone else for their personal use. If the skin is sold, it is necessary to give that money accrued in charity as sadaqah. It is not permissible to eat the meat of the following types of sacrifices. Sacrifice that is carried out as expiation, kafara, for a mistake committed during Hajj. Sacrifice carried out for a deceased person due to his wasiyah. And sacrifice carried out due to a vow, another. The meat of the above mentioned 3 types of sacrifices must be distributed to the poor and needy only. But this doesn't include your udhiyah for Eid al-Adha. It doesn't include that. Distribution of the meat. If an animal is sacrificed on behalf of more than one person, like a cow or a camel, that's the time when you can intend more shares. Its meat should be divided equally amongst its owners based on weight and not randomly or by mere conjecture. Even if all the partners agree on its distribution without weighing, it is still not permissible according to Sharia to just randomly distribute. They must receive a minimum portion of certain shares. So we're reading on. However, if the actual weighing is not practical due to some reason and all the partners agree to divide the meat without weighing, distribution by guess can be done with the condition that each share necessarily contains either a leg of the animal or some quantity of its liver. Right, brothers, we are to the last part of this presentation, which is 15 FAQs. And inshallah, this should be all the ones you have in mind. Right. Oh, did I tell you you're going to answer them? Okay. If udhiyah is necessary, and those listening to this presentation live, we will be doing it after, see if you can get the answer. If udhiyah is necessary upon me, can I cut my nails and hair in Dhul Hijjah? First 10 days you're not supposed to, one answer. So in the first of Dhul Hijjah till the sacrifice of the animal. Another person, the same person first said is preferable. You're allowed to cut your nails and your hair. However, it's preferable not to, so that you can be in more closer imitation of the Hujjaj. Right, next question. If I'm practicing upon the preferable and not cutting my hair and nails, and my udhiyah is in a different country, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Syria, Afghanistan, Palestine, then whilst I'm practicing upon this preferable now, when should I cut my nails and hair? So I can't cut it on the day of Eid in my country that I'm living in? Is that correct then? So I have to wait for the Qurbani, even though it's happening in another country, I have to wait for that country. To complete the preferable practice, it should be cut when your animal is sacrificed. So if that is the second day of your Eid in your country, then you would need to wait until then. So you are all right, mashallah. You do wait when it is sacrificed wherever you are doing it in the world, if you're practicing upon the preferable. Right, next question. If the husband owns the required amount for udhiyah, but his wife does not, does he give on behalf of both of them? So the question says, if the husband owns the required amount for udhiyah, but his wife does not, so does he give on behalf of both of them? Dono ki taraf se. So if she doesn't own, one answer from the brothers is that if she doesn't own, then she doesn't need to give. So as the wife does not own that much amount, then this udhiyah is not necessary upon her. But if the husband was still to give on her behalf, then both will receive the reward of this optional sacrifice because he's intending her. But again, if it's from his own money, then again he's going to receive greater reward as well. So husbands, fork out the money now. Yeah, but what if the wife does have enough money? And she says, no, you give both of them. So she actually has the money. So it's wajib upon her, but she says, no, you give both of them. You've been doing it every year anyway, so what if I start earning? You give it. So what happens then? Let's say you were to give it on her behalf. Will her sacrifice be accepted or not? As long as the husband chooses to, so he's not forced. So one of the brothers said that, I wonder what happens. I'm joking, sure. Okay, so of course, willingly you need to do it. So that's right, the brother's right. Willingly need to do it. If you have the consent of your wife to fulfill her qurbani, her udhiyah on her behalf, whether with her money or yours, because you're now the middleman, you're the person who's been appointed to go fulfill that responsibility, whether it's with her money or yours, the udhiyah will be fulfilled. So well done. Do matured baligh children need to offer sacrifice? Do matured baligh children need to offer sacrifice? If they have the required amount, let's see. Only if they possess the required amount of excess wealth beyond necessities that would make it necessary for the adults, then mature children also need to give a sacrifice. And you can get it as cheap as £40 if you're doing a single goat, and a share as cheap as £25 or £20. So if this mature child, which is only 13 years old, boy or girl, their parents gave them Eid, and for the last 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, they've saved up, they've got £50. Come the day of 10th of Dhul Hijjah, even though they're only 12, 13 years old, they need to go put forward a share for the sake of Allah. This is now wajib upon them because they're matured and they have that money on the 10th, 11th and 12th. So you don't need to possess this money throughout the whole year. You just need to possess it on those 3 days. If you do, then you need to sacrifice. Yeah, so if minor means that you're not baligh, if you're not baligh, then you're a minor. So let's get that technical definition correct. If you're minor, then you don't need to give. Where this confusion comes is that when Eid al-Fitr happens and we give Sadaqatul Fitr. Yeah, so come the day of Eid, we say that before you enter the Eidgah, the Eid prayer place, then you must give your Eid al-Fitr. And Eid al-Fitr is per living person, baby or adult. So now you give it for every member of your household. That's Sadaqatul Fitr though. But when it comes to Udhiyah, it's on these strict conditions that we are mentioning, where you must possess that minimum amount of one share, and you must be mature, mustn't be a traveler in those days, then you must give. Right, next question. So can I give it voluntarily for a minor? So yes, I can give it voluntarily for a minor, but I wouldn't waste my sacrifice for someone who cannot take benefit of the reward for it. That would be a meaningless action for me, even though it may be sentimental, but it's sentimental without reasoning, good reasoning. So I rather say that this sacrifice is on behalf of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the Sahaba radiyallahu anhu ajma'een, all the pious, the Salaf al-Salihin, on behalf of the A'imma Arba'a, on behalf of my Imams today who lead me in Salah, lead me in Taraweeh. I have to say that, Father. We're delivering this course. It's on behalf of my community, behalf of my relatives, family. So if you do that, then those who can receive reward will get it. Now, sentimental may mean that, oh son Muhammad, you're 8 years old, did you learn about Qurbani, Udhiyah? Yes, I did. We're going to give one sacrifice on your name as well. Wow, that's so special. You're sacrificing for me. And it uplifts him in his spirit and his involvement and his excitement, and he wants to see the animal, the pictures, and it gets him greatly more involved. Fine, include his name. But because it's nafal, and it's optional, you don't have to limit the intention to only him. Still spread it to those who can potentially receive the reward. So tell him it's yours as well, and tell him it's others as well. Or don't tell him it's others, just tell him it's yours as well. So don't waste it. So Islam doesn't say, I will come to inshallah, sorry. Islam doesn't say that be sentimental about things. So this is one of the things I mentioned when I was giving one of the durus, that women when they get married, then they buy these dresses, wedding dresses for 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and Allah knows how many thousands of pounds. Then they keep them for the rest of their life in their wardrobe. And because they're heavy, you have to buy good wardrobes with good drawers that have good support, otherwise the drawer will go flat and fall through. So you have to buy these. So see, you didn't start from the dress, the expense carried on, you see. Maintenance carried on as well. Now they keep it. Now why do you keep it? Number one, you shouldn't be spending that much money for just a wedding dress. It's sentimental, but it's without good reason. What's it going to do? Is it going to make you more beloved to your husband? And is it that if you win him on day one, then he'll love you for the rest of your life even though you don't dress like that? No, every day of your life he'll ask you, and he'll want that you dress good for him. So one day, it's not first impression, last impression, because it's not you're seeing each other for a couple of days and then you're done with one another. You're here for life, it's a life commitment. So you have to have good reasoning behind it. So don't buy expensive anyway. Unless here you buy it and they normally come more expensive than usual anyway. So then you should sell it and upcycle it. Upcycle means it goes in the ownership of another person who can use it. Yeah, and don't think that people will not wear a dress that was already used and is in good condition. They will do that. Yeah, we're in tough times now. We're in tough times. People can't even afford a wedding dress, never mind buy a one from a shop. So people will do that, upcycle it, and then you get the money. Go do something good with it. Next question. No, there's no age for minor. For boys there's no age, and neither is there for the girls. So if the boy has a wet dream, whether he's even 11 years old, he's become mature. And if the woman bleeds, and she is a girl, bleeds, and she is 10 years old, she's matured. Right, so this question over here. Is it okay to have my udhiyah done in another country? Is it okay? So we're all nodding our heads. There's such a long explanation. It wasn't just a nod head answer. This is permissible and sometimes recommended due to the difficult circumstances the ummah worldwide go through. However, a great negligence has been seen in the people of UK that they completely disregard doing their own udhiyah locally. By not doing so, even one sacrifice locally, the spirit of udhiyah is not revived in themselves nor their children. So, that's why I've been emphasizing this. Right, we're on question 6, we need to get to 15, we need to keep moving quick. Can I give sadaqah in place of udhiyah? So that means if the udhiyah value is £40 for a goat, can I just give £40 to the poor? Raise your hands for no, and raise your hands for yes. No, udhiyah is wajib and a necessary action of this deen, and can only be done in the form that is required from you by Allah according to the sunnah of Ibrahim alayhi salam, which is actually sacrificing an animal. Just as fasting of Ramadan cannot be substituted for salah. So you can't say just because, so for example, I don't want to fast in Ramadan, but I will pray this many amount of salah throughout every hour of the day of fast, but I don't need to keep a fast. So you can't swap the fara'id, the compulsory acts. Similarly, udhiyah cannot be substituted through sadaqah. Right, question. Is there a preferred way of slaughtering the different udhiyah animals? So let's go back. Quickly. What's the different udhiyah animals? Goat, sheep, cattle, which includes ox, cow, buffalo, chicken. Oh, no. Sorry, who said chicken? Who said chicken? We have to slaughter him today. Okay, sorry, joking. And the largest of them is camel. Which one should be at least 1 year old? Sheep, goats. Which one should be at least 2 years old? And which one should be 5 years old? Camel. Okay, mashallah. Now, for camel, there is a unique way. That is to thrust the knife into the base of a camel's neck. Here. So you do that basically. There's YouTube videos, you should watch it. It's quite very unique, interesting. In all honesty, it is. Thrust the knife into the base of a camel's neck while it is standing with one of its front legs tied up. So one brother said not in front of the kids. So again, it's an unfortunate reality of this country that lots of things are very superficial. So we don't make them real people. We keep them very fake. So we'll buy them a doll that's a goat shape and a cow shape and say, oh, this is your Qurbani, this is udhiyah, but we won't give them the real thing. Yeah, we won't toughen them up. So this is an unfortunate state of the believers. When we don't toughen them up, they can never fulfill the call to duty if Allah ever calls. Why? Because they don't have a heart for it. They can't even see a goat bleed. So how are they going to come to the call of duty? A cow, they can't even take a prick of a needle. Yeah, one of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum majma'een, he was in battle. The enemy struck his shoulder. After striking his shoulder wasn't completely cut. But it was a hindrance because it was waving and moving whilst he was trying to fight. And it was a disadvantage for him. So he put foot onto that arm of his and he pulled and teared that arm off so he could fight more freely and with better advantage. You can't take a prick of thorn. You know all this scouts and what they make you do and a bit more real life stuff, etc. It's all in this name of, you know, making you more real than robots. Yeah, so we need to try and provide these experiences for our children, more real experiences than the fake ones. Cow, bull, goat, sheep should be placed on its left side with its legs bound except the right hind, which is the back right leg. Okay, we don't know if they're all called arms or legs. You have a good argument. One brother said to me that, are you registered with Octopus Energy Firm? Because if you are, they give you a free hot drink. There's a offer. Every week you get a free hot drink from something. Is it Natto? I don't know what it is. There's a place, and there's Greg's as well. You can get a free hot drink. So I said to him, and the messenger said, which hand shall I raise? Octopus has 8 hands. He goes, are you really sure they're all hands? So that's the joke. The slaughterer should hold the knife in his right hand and hold the animal's head with his left. The knife should be sharp. Is it permissible to slaughter an animal who has a tag pierced into its ear? As long as the cut is not a third or more, then yes. Do I have to distribute the animal slaughtered in 3 parts? Do I have to distribute? It is only recommended that a third of the sacrificed animal be kept for oneself. Recommended, only recommended, a third be given to family and friends and a third be given in charity. Only recommended. So, if Bilal was slaughtering an animal and he decided, you know what, we're in need, our whole family's in need, we don't even eat meat a lot, so we're going to keep that meat for ourselves entirely. Should the community curse him? Belittle him? No, they shouldn't. Even if there was no need and he decided to keep it to himself, would you say he's greedy now? Why would you say it's his sacrifice? It's preferable to do it these 3 ways, but it's not necessary. And whatever reason he has, it is his own money at the end of the day, and he can use it. It's not zakat. This is not zakat, where a person cannot benefit from his giving. In zakat, he has to go only to the poor and needy, so only they can benefit. This is udhiyah. In udhiyah, there is permissibility to entirely benefit yourself. So if you slaughter here, then you can still come give a portion to your imam's house. This is permissible. Sorry, I don't know why these examples keep coming to my mind. Okay, so that's permissible, but it's not necessary. So, yeah, if you give it to your neighbors, this is good as well. Yeah, and it creates this Ramadan feeling of giving, and people really value. I assume that people really value when they receive Qurbani meat, and people know what this Udhiyah and this Qurbani is about, because it's very precious. It's very precious indeed. So yes, give it to your neighbors, even if you have to give a little bit, but give a little bit to the neighbors. You know, don't listen to your wives that no, we should only give this big portion that they can make 1 meal, and because there's 5 people in that house, we have to give this much, meaning X amount, and we can't give that much, so don't give it to them. No, don't listen to your wife in that case. Say no, whatever little we can give, we will give and we will distribute. So if we can only give this much and there's 3 neighbors, we'll split it into 3 parts. Somebody was saying something? Yes. If they're not Muslim, then we're going to come to that. Let's come to that. Let's come to that. Is it true that slaughtering an animal and distributing the meat to the poor alleviates difficulty? Slaughtering the animal and distributing the meat to the poor, it removes difficulty. So let's say a person's, someone's beloved is in ICU. May Allah protect all our beloveds. And we want to attract the mercy of Allah. So would it be a correct understanding to say, you know what, I'm going to slaughter an animal in their name in Pakistan, and I'm going to get that meat distributed, and inshallah, you know, sacrificing this animal will bring some shifa to my loved one. Is this a correct aqeedah? Purely sacrificing an animal in itself is worship in some circumstances of Sharia, like Udhiyah, Aqiqah, Hadi, and Dam. Hadi and Dam, they're specific for Hajj, and Udhiyah is what we do at Eid al-Adha, and Aqiqah is at the birth of a child. And they have specific rules. Apart from this, the Sharia has not specifically recommended the sacrifice of an animal as a form of worship. It continues, the answer. So apart from the above, the sacrifice, meaning Udhiyah, Aqiqah, Hadi and Dam, apart from these, the sacrifice of the animal itself has no significance or effect. And if the poor would benefit more from another form of charity, such as water or cash or medicine, then this should be chosen instead. Because what is going to bring you your ill shifa? It is the dua of the needy whose need you fulfill. Maybe their need is not meat, and they can do with dal, and they can do with lentils, but they need fees for their children's school education. They need clean water. They need some clothes to wear. Winter's coming. Maybe that's their need. They don't want the meat. So don't assume you know the need of the needy and just sacrifice an animal and just kill animals. Animal killers? Yeah. Where's the people campaign for animals? Take these guys away. Yeah, so don't do that. Yeah, fulfill the need of the needy. So when slaughtering the animal for the poor, the intention should be giving charity and helping the poor, as these two alleviate problems, not the slaughter of the animal per se. Which animals can be sacrificed, and how many shares can be intended in them? So, for male or female of the below, they have different names. So sheep and goat only is equivalent for one share for one person, and cattle, cow, buffalo, ox and camel is equivalent for 7 people, 7 shares. However, it is not necessary to have 7 people for 7 shares. It's not necessary. It's savvy, it's efficient, but it's not necessary. Okay, how many people can own a small animal or a single share of a big animal? How many people can own one animal or a single share of a big animal? Simple, 2 words. One person. Yeah. Now the ulama, they mention, and in the Hanafi fiqh this is the most preferred view, that even if it is nafal, so in nafal Qurbani, nafal Udhiyah, of course this is optional sacrifice, but even then it should be one name to one share, even if it's nafal. This is the most preferred view in the Hanafi fiqh. In wajib, you have no choice. So if it's your actual one that you have to do, you only have choice is, it has to be from you, it can't be from someone else. Right, we've got 3 more questions to go. Can I intend my wajib Udhiyah and nafal in the shares of a large animal? So can I combine intentions? So I'm going to sacrifice an animal. It's got 7 shares. Yeah, so give me a name. What can have 7 shares? A camel. Okay. So camel I'm going to do. So one part I say, oh Allah, this is my wajib share for this year. This is the one that I had to do. I've got 6 shares left. Oh Allah, the next one I'm intending nafal for Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next one I'm intending for the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'een. The next one for all the Salafus Salihin. Then for my parents. Then for my siblings, and etc. etc. Can I do and combine? The answer is yes. And even if multiple people came into a large animal, so 7 people did their 7 necessary udhiyah from one big animal, then this is permissible. This is permissible. Right, let me give you a question. Here's a question. 7 people, all intend a nafal udhiyah, and each one intends on behalf of their parents. So parents are how many? 2. 7 people are intending, so 7 times 2, how many shares? 14. Can you do this in a 7-share animal? Of course you can, because everyone is optional anyway. You can intend the whole ummah in every share. See, because you have to, it's a trick question. The 14, that figure kind of confused you, but that was a trick question. Okay, can I send reward to multiple people from my wajib udhiyah? So note the word wajib udhiyah. In wajib udhiyah, can you do it? Multiple people? No. So for example, if I pray my dhuhr fard salah, can I say, oh Allah, my fard salah for dhuhr is on behalf of my mother and me? No. So this is wajib. In fard and wajib, you can't combine 2 people's fard in one. So the answer is no. This can only be done in nafl udhiyah, meaning multiple people. How many people can I send the reward of a nafl udhiyah to? Okay, how many people can carry out collectively 1 share of an udhiyah? What's the most preferred view? 1. How many people can this one person intend that share for? As many as you like. Okay? So just understand it like it goes into a tunnel, then it comes out into an... So from open it goes in, and from in it comes out. So from open it goes in. So once, when the person's sacrificing and he's doing his wajib udhiyah, then you narrow the tunnel, which means that only he can intend for himself. But now on the other end, when he wants to say, Allah, this is for this many people, then the tunnel opens up again. Yeah, so that means he can intend it for any and as many as he wants.
You have to buy more shares. You have to buy more shares.
For?
From that 1 share, you have to buy more shares.
No, you don't. For nafal, intentions. No, not for the off product.
Which is for your fard or your wajib.
Yes.
Then after you bought that, you decided you're going to do 10 more nafals. You don't need to buy any more.
You do.
Yes, so that's the point.
Only for wajib is the niyyah restricted. For nafal, the niyyah is not restricted, but we said for the most preferred view is that 2 people can't split 1 share, even if it's nafal. Even if it's nafal, you can't split 1 share. So you can't say, oh, you know what, we're going to do udhiyah in this country, a nafal one, but oh, it's at least 280, 300 pounds, which is the going rate right now for a sheep. So that's too much for me. So let me say to my brother and my sister, would you 2 be willing to split this into 3? So we do 100 pounds, and then we'll share the meat in 3 pieces. So we're saying the most preferred view in the Hanafi fiqh, not halal haram, it's not a matter of halal haram, the most preferred view that you shouldn't do that even in a nafal udhiyah. You shouldn't split the cash amount. Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he once said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to me that sacrifice of an animal for me, Ali, every year or on a yearly basis. Then he said that, or it wasn't stipulated every year, I can't remember the hadith, but he said that because of what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to me, I continued to sacrifice an animal for him every year, even after his demise. And in one hadith, it may be Bukhari if I remember correctly, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam sacrificed an animal on behalf of every ummati and native of his until the day of judgment, a nafal sacrifice, whom in their life are unable to do a sacrifice. That on behalf of every ummati of mine who never finds that financial ability to sacrifice Allah, this udhiyah is on behalf of them. Allahu Akbar. Look at that. Look at that. That's a leader. Ajib. How many people can I send the reward of a nafal udhiyah to? So this is the hadith that I just quoted of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam offering the udhiyah on behalf of the ummah, of all those that cannot afford in his ummah. What shall I do if I have not given my wajib udhiyah in the past? It will be necessary to give the amount in cash and not as sacrificial animals. So if you've got 10 udhiyah of the past, you don't sacrifice 10 animals, you give it in cash. This is from a very trusted book on fiqh, the Hashia of Ibn Abidin. There is difference of opinion that no, maybe you can actually sacrifice animals as well, but the ultimate rule and conclusion that comes out of it is that the way how you missed your fard salah, you should make up for the ones that you've missed. Similarly, the udhiyah that you've missed, you should make up for it. This is end of presentation, but the question still stands. I thought I had it in the presentation. That is, that whom can I distribute the meat of udhiyah to? Whom am I allowed to distribute it to? Meaning, we've already said you can keep it or distribute it, but if I want to distribute it, does it specifically mean that I can only distribute it to Muslims? No. You can even distribute it to non-Muslims as well. And it's a good opportunity of da'wah. A good opportunity of da'wah that if you have non-Muslim neighbors, then you educate them, they understand the name of Abraham. They know that because he's the prophet of all the books. So they understand that name. So you give them a bit of history that Abraham sacrificed, and we, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this nation, continued that legacy, and we do it every year, and we've done that sacrifice this year, and there's some meat from the sacrifice. I'd like to share that with you. You know, that really mean a lot to them. You know, just a normal box of chocolates means a lot to them. When you say it like this, the spirituality that's obviously infused into this anyway, and giving that, inshallah, make dua for his hidayah, and Allah will give him hidayah. Are there any questions? Okay, let me write for the next year, number 16 now. Okay, brother, yes, what's your question? I need to add it to the FAQ, if it's anything different. 1 second. Okay, go on. Bismillah. What age can you start sacrificing? So you can start sacrificing even if you're not eligible to sacrifice. So let's say you're 16 years old and you only have 20 pounds or 15 pounds. So you say to your father, can you borrow me another 10 pounds because I want to do a sacrifice? So even though you're not required by Sharia, you can still do an optional one like this by taking money off somebody as well. This is permissible. So there's really no young age. So what age are you required to sacrifice from? Then you have to be mature. Baligh. So you have to have matured as a boy or a girl. Then you must possess the minimum amount upon which zakah would become compulsory upon you. But only in the days of 10th, 11th and 12th. The condition is not the whole year round as it is with zakah. I know you're slightly a bit confused. You were a bit in and out of the presentation, but I will go through that with you. We've covered this already, but I'll go through it with you after the presentation, inshallah. I'll go through it with you, inshallah. Any other questions? Yes.
Does the name of the person have to be mentioned during the sacrifice?
So, because this is fard and this is wajib, then it has to be specifically after the person whom it's given for. But there is some level of flexibility in this. So let's say there's a chain. Yeah, so let's take this chain. So I want to sacrifice an animal. So I said to Bilal, where are you doing your udhiyah this year? He said, I'm doing it in Palestine. So I said, okay, can you do mine for me as well? He said, yes, I can do yours for you. Bilal knows that one of his sacrifices that he's going to give in Palestine is going to be on my name as well. Bilal then looks for someone who can do it in Palestine. So he finds that there's a charity that's doing it in Palestine. He did all his double background checks and he said, yes, they got photos, videos. Right now on the ground, they are giving sacrifices, or they will be, and they're there and they can. So he told the charity. Then the charity had people on the ground. So they told them that you got to sacrifice. How many animals? And again, this whole thing went through. So I told Bilal, so if you work it backwards, the person who's slaughtering has been told by his line manager, you've got to sacrifice an animal that's come on behalf of Zubair, who paid online, Zubair Ahmed. He paid for 7 shares. sacrifice on Zubair Ahmed's name. So he says Allah for Zubair Ahmed, Allahu Akbar, and does one. Zubair Ahmed, Allahu Akbar 2. Zubair Ahmed, Allahu Akbar 3. Zubair Ahmed, Allahu Akbar 4, 5, 6, 7. He does it like this. Now, working back in the chain, Zubair Ahmed did pay this charity online under the name of Zubair Ahmed 7 shares. But Zubair Ahmed, the 7 shares are not his, but he took his name plus 6 other names. But he knows the 6 names that he's sacrificing on behalf of. And the 6 people besides him know that we have given this sacrifice to him. So in this chain, it's fine. Because at least one link that is going to, they know who the sacrifice is for. So when it gets to the eventual link, you don't have the details there. Unless it's a very personal way of sacrificing. A very distinct way. So it's very direct. So if somebody's relative is in Pakistan, and there's direct contact, and he's sacrificing the animals, so the chain just cuts short right there. So you give him all the names, literally. You say Zubair, Bilal, Maryam, Sarah, and Salma, and you give the names, and he'll say Zubair, Bilal, etc., etc. He'll do that. So he'll do it literally. He'll do it like that. So that's a nice way. It's a clear-cut way. But there's other ways less clear ways are still possible. Any other questions? So I just got one over here. It's completely permissible to choose the cheapest place in the cheapest country. It's completely permissible. By rule, it's permissible. Absolutely fine. Yeah? It may not be ideal to someone, but it's permissible. Any other questions? Okay, then inshallah. So you had a question. Sorry, there's one question here first. Okay. Yes, your question? Ji. So the question is, can I give on behalf of the deceased? Number one, yes, you can give on behalf of living and the dead. And is it more beneficial that I use that money to do an udhiyah for them in this world? Or should I dig a well, or should I build a masjid for them? So the hadith states that the most beneficial sadaqah is giving water. So if a person can dig a well in a needy place, then this will fulfill the greatest need for the needy, because it's the most desperate of needs and the most satisfying when you receive it. So inshallah you'll get the most heartfelt du'as in return. Yes.
It would be a nice to our neighbors and give them some meat, for example. Sometimes they have to urge the non-Muslims to give us something back in the box, for example, for Christmas or Easter. How should we react if they give us, for example, an Easter egg or something?
Okay, so the question is that if we were kind to our neighbors and we gift to them, they will obviously gift in return, but they will gift on their special occasions like Christmas or Easter. Then you should educate them that when we gift you on Eid, and you accept this, for you to accept this or not accept this is nothing to do with your religion. But when you gift us, if you gift it on specifically on the occasion of Christmas and Easter, then it does come within the permit of our religion, meaning within the borderlines within our religion. So therefore it is not recommended for us. So we do appreciate your gifts, but next time if you can gift it on other occasions than Christmas and Easter, because we see it part of our religion to not accept on other people's festivals and gifts at that time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first of all give the rest of the ability to act upon what has been said. May He continue our journey in the different chapters of Deen and continue to keep us as students of Deen throughout our lives. So continue benefiting, brothers. This today may have been an eye-opener for you with regards to many aspects of Udhiyah. Like this, there's many chapters of Deen there's still to learn. So find courses, enroll on something which you can do on a weekly basis, and continue enhancing your knowledge and coming closer to Allah by doing so. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.